Hey everyone, welcome back for the last moment of the day, the inspiring keynote talk. So let me introduce you to our speaker, Lauren Isaacson. Hi Lauren, how are you?
Hey, doing well, thank you.
Thank you. So Lauren Isaacson is a market and user experience research consultant from Vancouver in Canada. And she's the current chapter co-chair of the Qualitative Research Consultants Association for Pacific Northwest chapter, and also the Intelligence Association's former chair. Lauren is passionate about helping the research community to grow, hosting research meetups in her hometown. And we're going to have a keynote on chasing rabbits, turning research insights into informed decisions. So, hi, Lauren. I hope that you are hearing us well, and I'm hearing you fine. We did our tech check, so we should be okay. Let me just tell everyone that if you have questions regarding Lauren's talk, you have also the chance to ask them on Slido. You can use the QR code, or you can go to slido.com and just search for Productized and then select the May 28th room. So, Lauren, ready?
I'm ready.
All right, so I'm just going to get on the teaser and then you're free to share your screen.
Okay.
All right, so I'm just handing over the screen share to you, so feel free to share it.
Okay, sharing, and then let me hit play.
All good.
Okay. All right, great. So let me just use that a little bit. There we go. Okay. So hi, I'm Lauren, and I am a market and UX research consultant based in Western Canada. And as a research consultant, as a professional research consultant, this is how an engagement typically goes for me. So I'm kind of like the Lone Ranger. I ride into a team that needs my help to conduct a quality research project and deliver reliable insights. And then I deliver a great report based on thorough research, and have a stack of insights and recommendations to act on. My job is done. Thank you and goodbye. Then I ride off into the sunset to the next company or team that needs my help. So now what? You have a lot of options based on the research that was just completed. What do you do next? Well, you may be suffering from what's known as a paralysis of choice. The research gave you so many options, you're not sure which ones to act on. So let's talk about that. What are next steps to take after research? We can start by talking about the fundamental differences between qualitative and quantitative research. There is a saying among researchers: you survey 100 people and you learn 10 things, or you interview 10 people and you learn 100 things. That's the difference between qual and quant. Neither is better or worse, but using the right methodology for the right situation is key. Now, what if we were to look at these insights as a metaphor? So all of those learnings and insights are rabbits. And you're a clever fox in the middle of this field of tasty, tasty rabbits. You're not a dog. You're not going to go waste your time and energy chasing after every rabbit. A clever fox will only go after the rabbit that will most likely pay off in their next meal. And that's you. You're clever. Which insight is going to pay off in the biggest gain for the product or the business? So how do you know? Remember, just because the insight made it into the report doesn't mean that it's worth pursuing. Be selective about what you choose to go after. Let's start with how to use qualitative and quantitative qualitative research to inform innovation. So most of you are probably familiar with the double diamond of innovation. First, you exercise divergent thinking. You're going wide. You're trying to get as many insights on, you're trying to get as many ideas on the table as possible. Then you narrow down your choices from the first phase. That's convergent thinking. Then you do more divergent exercises based on the results from the convergent phase, that's going wide again, and then you finally converge again to arrive at a slender and achievable list of innovation options. So, how does research fit into this system? Qualitative helps teams understand the problem or the customer. It answers why questions. Why do people do what they do? Why does this problem exist? Why hasn't it already been solved? We ask short questions and get big and complicated answers back. It almost always broadens one's understanding and creates many options. Quant, on the other hand, helps teams understand how much questions, how many people experience this, how often, how many like or dislike what we offer. We ask very specific questions and get simplified and numerical answers back. Quant helps prioritize issues and track progress. It narrows your focus. Now let's apply this to the double diamond framework. Qualitative broadens your knowledge, and therefore you can usually use it for divergent phases. Quantitative helps narrow and prioritize the issues and options, what makes it a typical tool for convergent phases. Is this a hard and fast rule? No. You can always switch up the methodology depending on your needs and the circumstances of the situation. But if you need a framework for how to think of what method to use, this isn't a bad way to go. While there is no such thing as perfect research, there are standards of quality and ways of recognizing them. Think of research quality as a process instead of a deliverable. From the client standpoint, you should be thinking about these things. What are your expectations? Setting expectations is key. What do you want to know, and how do you expect to be informed? Then there are challenges. Research is about finding new answers, and sometimes they don't fit what you already think you know. Then there's alignment. The best research in the world won't help a team that has different ideas and expectations. Then there are knowns. While you should be open to being challenged, you should also establish what is already a fact. Don't reinvent the wheel. And then there's clarity. What deliverables are expected? Don't be disappointed when you don't get what you never asked for. There are some universal characteristics of a quality research process from the researcher's point of view. The researcher's recruiting process was intentional to reflect the population or the target market. They didn't just talk to their friends and family. They went out of their way to find people who would provide relevant insights. They planned out smart and unbiased questions. For qualitative, you're looking at short questions to get big answers back. For quant, the questions should be very specific and yield narrow results. The researchers made every step of the process available for review, observation, and differing opinions. The team should know exactly where those magical insights came from. The researcher should also have a wealth of experience under their belt and exude the humble confidence that comes with that. They will have every situation handled and will be ready to work with you to deliver the best results. When you are questioning research quality or pushing back on results, it's good to approach the issue from the right frame of reference. Qual and quant are very different and need to be communicated and judged differently. In qual, value what people say rather than how many people said it. An insight from a single person could be just the tip of the iceberg. You won't know for certain because you can't possibly interview everyone. In quant, place more value on how many people answered the specific questions in specific ways. Pay attention to the end value, that's the sample size, and the margin of error. Don't freak out when your satisfaction scores go down by 1 point when the margin of error is typically 5 points. That means the true measure could be 5 points higher or lower than what was reported. And don't ask for numbers in qualitative. A researcher who gives you numbers, percentages, and qualitative is doing you a disservice by providing you a false sense of certainty. Transparency in research is very important. Researchers should be involving stakeholders in many of the research process decisions and offering observation opportunities at every step of the project. You should feel like an integrated part of the process. There should be very little surprise in the outcome. Stakeholders should be able to know where each insight came from. If your researcher is acting like a magician, doing all the work behind a curtain for a big reveal at the end, something's wrong. Both methods, qualitative and quantitative, have limitations, and it's good to be aware of them. For quant, you don't know what you don't know. This means stakeholders will likely view results through their lens of experience, which may not be accurate. This also means you can only ask questions that you're already aware of, making it unlikely that you'll hit on brand new insights. Some companies offer a qual at scale through AI analysis of open-ended questions. Recognize that this is a new technology and therefore not completely reliable. It's not great at detecting slang, sarcasm, or a number of other communication nuances. The data also lags. It can only measure what is currently happening and can't identify budding trends. Qual isn't perfect either. The sample sizes are too small to provide the numeric certainty of quant. The margin of error on a sample size of 12 is roughly 30%. That's 30 points up or down from the reported results. This is why numbers aren't that effective in qualitative. This is also why the results are soft, and you should be suspicious of reporting numbers in qualitative. You should only be seeing terms such as one, few, some, roughly half, most, or all. Or maybe graphs to indicate comparative size without specific numbers attached. It also takes a lot of time and money to do a qual project properly. Recruiters usually need 2.5 weeks to find the right participants, and that recruiter needs to get paid. Interviews can take a week or more to complete, and the participants, they need to be incentivized. Analysis and reporting takes a week or more to do well, and don't forget to pay your researcher. That's a big investment of time and money. Surveys are much easier to execute. So hopefully you have a better understanding of how to evaluate research. Now let's talk about what to do with that big stack of insights that I mentioned earlier. One thing you can do is workshop the findings to create actionable and committed next steps. You can ask the researcher to incorporate a workshop as part of the report presentation. Get the relevant stakeholders in the same room for the research report presentation and start asking how might we questions to find out potential next steps. Collaborate on what you should and should not be acted upon, how and when. Get everyone in the room to commit to the resulting tasks. It's not uncommon for research projects to reveal the need for more research. That happens all the time. You don't know what you don't know until someone shows you something new. You can apply the double diamond method by doing a quant study after your qualitative study to find out which of the insights resonate with the greatest portion of your target population. That'll narrow your options. Then you can create potential solutions and narrow and refine them through additional qualitative testing. If you did a quant study first, you can do a qual study after to discover the why behind the answers. Knowing why can help create solutions that actually work for your customers. You can also do a qualitative study to test your potential solutions to understand what customers think from what will work and won't work and why. You can also map the opportunities. Mapping isn't an exact science. You're making your best educated guess based on what you know. You can use an axis of impact versus execution, or you can label these axes with any factors you think matter to the decision, like profits versus quality, or time versus growth. Remember, not every insight is worth pursuing. Anything that falls in the lower left quadrant, that should be trashed. But you should definitely prioritize the upper right insights or solutions in the upper left items on your product roadmap for later. Another way to help make the process more objective is by using a weighting system. So this is also a best guess system, but systematizing it brings a level of objectivity and transparency to the process. You'll be able to tell your colleagues that you're moving in this direction and this is why. Decide what factors you're trying to strategically address and give the options a score of 0 to 5 for each factor. And the factors can be anything you want them to be, whatever you think really matters to the product or the business. Then weight those factors by assigning a multiplier between 1 and 5 to weight the calculation. This way, the more important factors get pushed to the top. Final step, you add the scores to see which options gathered the most points. Now, as you can see here, we have a bunch of factors, we have a bunch of options, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So clearly, what we're seeing here is factor 2, it's kind of important. It's definitely more important than factor 1 or factor 3. But factor 4, that's like, that is the one. It has to hit that. So you're giving it a weight of 5. So it has to like do really well on that. Once the scores were added, you can see that B, that's definitely the option you're going to go with. It had clearly had the highest score. A and G, those also had a pretty good score as well, and maybe you want to look into those too, but you have a very clear winner using this. Another way is to simply narrow your focus, decide what does and does not matter, and ignore the factors that aren't important. Again, this is not scientific. What are the absolute table stakes? Then decide the trade-offs. What are you willing to have less of so that you can have more of something else? Less customers, but they pay more. Less customization, but it's easier to execute. Now you have a narrower focus. The decision of what to do next should be a lot easier. Sometimes I find an area of concern for a client. I identify stress scenarios or potential opportunities for abuse of the feature. There isn't much I can do once I've raised the flag on these issues, but you can as the client. Running these through an ethical decision framework is a good start. Step 1, recognize that there is an ethical issue. Could this decision or situation be damaging to someone or some group? Does this decision involve a choice between a good and a bad alternative, or perhaps between 2 goods, best case scenario, or 2 bads, worst case scenario? Is this issue more about what was legal or what is most efficient? If it's about more than that, how is it about more than that? Then you need to go fact finding. What are the relevant facts of the case? What facts are not known? Can I learn more about the situation? Do I know enough to make a decision? What individuals and groups have an important stake in the outcome? Are some concerns more important? Why are they more important? What are the options for acting? Have all the relevant persons and groups been consulted? Have I identified creative options? Step 3 is evaluate your alternative actions. You can evaluate the options by asking the following questions. Which option will produce the most good and do the least harm? That's known as the utilitarian approach. Which option best respects the rights of all who have a stake? That's known as the rights approach. Which option treats people equally or proportionately? That's the justice approach. Which option best serves the community as a whole, not just some members? That's the common good approach. Which option leads me to act as the sort of person I want to be? That's the virtue approach. Step 4, make a decision and test it. Considering all of these approaches, which option best addresses the situation? If I told someone I respect, or I told a television audience, or I just put it out there on Twitter that this is the decision I made, which option have I chosen, and how would they react? Step 5 is act and reflect on the outcome. How can my decision be implemented with the greatest care and attention to the concerns of all the stakeholders? How did my decision turn out, and what have I learned from this specific situation? Having a period of reflection after a decision has been made and implemented is a really good thing to do. What do you want to do? What did you learn? What do you wish you had done differently? What would you wish you had known? Those are all things that are good to process after a decision has come to fruition. So I hope that helps in your role as clever foxes. While knowing is half the battle, knowing what to do next takes you forward. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much, Lauren. Yes, we do have a bunch of questions now. Let me just share the screen here and make sure that everyone can see the All right. So, yeah, I was actually discussing this with my colleague here, Isabel. Isabel, do you want to do any question? Because this is actually your field as well. You're a UX researcher. So maybe you want to actually open the mic and do your own question here. If you can, of course. You should be able to do it fine.
I was not sure if it was with me you were speaking with.
Yeah, with you, Isabel Novaes. Yes, you're the right person.
Hi, thank you. Very nice to hear you, Lauren. Thank you very much for your explanation. I just didn't catch the last part. Do you want me to do an open question? Not specific to the Slido questions, right, Andrea?
Yeah, whatever questions you might have.
Okay, so I do have, in terms of the balance between the quantitative and the qualitative research, I did follow the logic normally to do a quantitative research normally as a first approach, because normally it leads us to a lot of questions and a better specification of our approach to the qualitative research afterwards. But in terms of the amount of people that normally you send these rehearsal approaches, how would you set a number to that? If
so it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if
so
you have like,
yeah, you start with quantitative. So that depends on the size of your population. So the population could be your entire target audience. It could be the entire world. It's a big question. So that's the one you got to start with. What is the size of the population you're looking to measure? There are things called sample size calculators. So you just go online, you just Google sample size calculator, and you put in the relevant numbers. Now, there is a point. So where your population size, doesn't matter how big it is, you always want it, like when it gets to a certain like size, in order to get the minimum margin of error, you want to ask questions, you want to get that survey out to 400 people. That is the minimum. Now, once you go below 400, again, depending on the size of your population, the margin of error expands. So you have to decide what you're willing to put up with. So are you willing to get answers from less people, but have a higher margin of error? But that you actually could get those people, and you know you're getting really good answers from those people. So maybe that affects the quality as well. But for like general population, 400. If someone's asking you for like more than 400, that can also be an interesting thing to do. It depends on if you are trying to measure different populations against each other, because then you want to do 400 from each population. So that's how you do. So that's how you're thinking about that. When it comes to qualitative, so for kind of an exploratory qualitative study, I usually recommend at least 12. But again, that depends on if you're trying to compare certain groups. If you're trying to just get a diverse sample, you want to do at least 12. If you're trying to compare how different groups talk about different things or think about different things, you probably want 12 from each group. When it comes to usability study, you want 6. That's 5 is minimum, but you're always like counting 1 might be a dud. So I usually recommend 6. But if you have distinct populations you're trying to measure, such as you want to test the website on people who actively use and are customers of your system versus people who are not customers of your system, you don't want 6 total. You want 6 customers and 6 non-customers to interview. So it always depends. It depends on what you're doing, what the population size is, what you're willing to put up with as far as margin of error when it comes to sample size, and what that means to your budget, because we're all dealing with budgets and constraints.
And that actually pops up an extra question. Can I, Andrea?
For sure.
In terms of the not customers, what's your opinion? Because sometimes it's controversial. What's your opinion about doing that kind of research when you have a wide scope of things that you want to test with non-clients, of doing that validations with family and friends? So
you can. I don't recommend it because one of the parts of research quality is the researcher went out of their way to find people that represent the target audience. If you think your friend and family represent the target audience, sure.
I think
but
in terms of the target audience, sometimes you can find.
Yeah.
My question is more about the impartiality that.
Yeah, I don't
or
recommend
not.
it. You don't want people that know that you have a stake in this to give you you can't expect them to give you honest feedback. Something I always say in Qualitative is when I'm introducing myself, it's just like, I'm a third party. I'm a contractor. I had nothing to do with what you're about to see today. You can tell me anything you want. You're going to tell me something negative. I'm going to write that down because it's important for the report. You can say something positive. I'm going to write that down too because it's important for the report. Or you can just kind of go, nah, and I'm going to write that down too because it's important for the report. I want to give them complete freedom. If they know you have a stake in things, there's a very low chance that they're going to tell you something negative, because especially if they know you, it's just not going to happen.
I've had some negative thoughts, but maybe I have some mean family.
Yeah.
It's just.
Hey, maybe you're lucky and they're going to
be
be completely honest with you, but there's a really good chance they're not.
Yeah, it's a danger.
So one of the things that I found really interesting is the whole researcher insights workshop. So what might the researcher do in this insights workshop to have this, I don't know, brainstorm, and what do you have in mind?
It can really run the gamut. I mean, right now we're kind of limited into what we can do. We do mural boards and things like that. But basically, what you're doing is you're giving the presentation. You're saying, here are the major insights. You're listing them out, and then it's like, okay, we know all of these new things. How might we utilize these things? And then you can kind of do divergent thinking exercises and games and things like that to figure out, like, okay, what are some things that this could result from? What are they going to be? We know this now. Great. We invested all this time and energy and money into this. What are they going to be the actionable next steps? That's the purpose of that meeting. That's the purpose of the workshop, is producing things like that. And you get that through, how might we questions? We know this, now what? All
right. So again, thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much for your wonderful presentation. I think we are much better, and it was really the perfect ending to, especially if you have been to Teresa Torres' Masterclass. And this is really the cherry on top of the cake. So before we actually leave, let me just have some wrap-up notes before you go. So we prepared a digital goodie bag for you, and you can claim it on Circle, right? Just go to the digital perks tab, and some of the perks include, what do they include? Well, they include lots of things, but I have to check it out here on the presentation. So a €200 Farfetch voucher, a free career coaching session with career.pm, free consulting sessions with Productized, a discount on your second edition of our beginners product course with Wild Code School, and also a discount on our third edition of the executive product course with Católica Lisbon Business University, and much more. So check it out. Also, we'll have certificates of attendance and a feedback form. So please check your email inbox. We're going to send you today. And it's really important that we have this feedback. It's really great also to keep improving the format. And then you'll be on the pipeline for the certificate of attendance and also all the materials that we have been sharing today with the masterclasses. Finally, a big thank you to our sponsors and partners. Farfetch, they were really great. They have been all over the place with us. They have been such a powerful sponsor this year. Coffee Dish, they had a great group today. So if there's any Coffee Dish people in the room, please just raise your arm and say hello. And I'm seeing a few faces here. And also Altis, our trusted sponsor for communications, and much more. So our partners, including Wildcode School, Católica, Slido, Career.pm, Balsamic, Proto.io, and High Interactive. And finally, thank you, because you have made this event very, very special. 2 days. We'll see some of you in the after party for sure. And to you all, we hope we can see each other next very, very soon here in Lisbon or anywhere. For that, please stay safe, stay healthy, have a great weekend. And if you haven't signed on the Circle community, please do so. Everything is happening there. You can network with your fellow attendees and speakers. You can still keep the communication going and claim the digital perks back. So please share the love in your favorite social media. And for those ones that are lucky enough to stay in Lisbon and have registered for the party, we're going to see each other very, very soon in this amazing outdoor sunset. It's the hottest day of the year in Lisbon, so it's going to be really, really cool to go there. And the party is happening at Fábrica da Musa in Beato in Lisbon, and it's at 7. So you have half an hour to get there and have the open bar from 7 to 10. So guys, thank you so much. And I'm really, really happy for what we have done this year. So let's take like this group photo. So if some of you guys are still in there, just please turn on the camera so we do this group photo with the social media team. Sarah, tell me when we have this amazing group photo. Radhika, if you are still there. All right, you are. Great to have you. Mirali, Inês, we have Katya, and others. All right, so let's do this.
Andrea, could you stop sharing your screen?
Sure, I can. So let me just stop sharing the screen so I have as many faces as possible in the window. All right. So let's do the sign of heart. We have completed. This is Chinese sign of heart. Hard, difficult, right? Shows that we have done this 2 days of learning together. All right. Do it together. Do it, Teresa. Teresa, Chinese sign of good luck and heart. All right. Congratulations, everyone. See you very, very soon at Musa. Nice day. Bye. And I'll play your favorite music.
Bye, Lauren. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thanks
Hope
for
you have
having me.
enjoyed. Thank you. It was really
Bye.
nice to see you. Bye-bye.
See you.